All right, so we're going to move on to another clip. As y'all can tell, I really like this interview. But we can't listen to the entire thing. So we're going to move on to 3220. Let's see what we got on 3220.
Want to get to a bit later on, but I remember the Obamas were anti-gay marriage. Then we got them to, okay, gay marriage.
Right.
And do people remember that? Did you hear what she just said? She remembers when the Obamas were anti-gay marriage. Crazy how things have flipped, right? And this is another thing. People have actually called this out, that with Barack Obama, that he was used. A lot of people believe that he was the one that was used to fast forward, to accelerate this LGBTQ movement. A lot of people believe that. Think about the black people you could see it obviously with Kamala Harris now. So with Kamala Harris, who I believe is not intelligent, who I believe is not qualified, who is not capable, who doesn't just have leadership qualities. She just doesn't seem like a leader to me, to be totally honest. Barack Obama was not that. Let's be clear. Barack Obama, you're not saying that he wasn't intelligent. When I think about intelligent presidents, Barack Obama's at the top of that list. When I think about gifted speakers, gifted leaders, Barack Obama's at the top of that list. So even though most of us just voted for Barack because he was black, he at least had a lot of these qualifications where it's like, okay, we may only be voting for him because he's black, but when you look at least he actually qualifies. We believe that he actually qualifies. Kamala Harris is none of that. None of that. But what I will say is that when we simply, even if somebody qualifies for a position, when we only put them in power because they're black, what ends up happening is now while they're in office, what do? We don't even pay attention to what's going on. And it's so funny that the black president is the one that accelerated the LGBTQ movement when I don't know about a lot of y'all, but within the black community, that was never a thing that black people just, were the ones embracing, come on, LGBTQ, let's celebrate. That just I'm not saying that it was a hate crime within the black community, but that wasn't something that we were just pushing in the black community, at least from what I felt. So when you have Barack Obama in office pushing a lot of these things, it's because we're not paying attention. It's because we don't really care about what he's going to do when he gets to power. And that's why a lot of people are pushing things and that's why when you look at a Joe Biden, when you look at a Kamala Harris, and when you ask certain people that support them, just like I did on the conversation with my bros, they say certain things where it's like, I'm like, well, why are you voting for Kamala? Oh, because Trump's racist. Oh, what's racist? What's racist about him? Oh, just the way. Well, give me an example of him being racist. Crickets. Oh, Trump is bringing black people back. Trump is responsible for bringing black people back. Well, what areas? Because the areas that I looked at, black people were actually doing well while Trump was in office. So, but I'm open to you telling me exactly how it's just, how white people feel they can talk to us with a guy like Trump. What? That's the victim game. You just removed Trump bringing somebody. Nobody can bring me back except me. Nobody can bring me back except me. That's my mentality. I'm not a victim. All right. Let me get my soundboard.
Ooh, you sound like a victim.
You sound like a victim, brother. Let's keep going.
And now it's let's medicalize children and put them. Okay, Obamas were anti-gay marriage. Then we got them to, okay, gay marriage.
Right.
And now it's let's medicalize children and put them on off-label cancer drugs and chop off their boobs. And the Obama administration is trying to lift any age restriction on it. They tried to pass that through.
Did they really?
Yes. Google it. Obama.
I did not know that.
Biden. The Biden administration.
Biden, okay.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
The Biden administration has moved to remove any age limitation on the medicalization of gender dysphoria. I have no problem with you changing all that stuff. I just want your brain to be developed. And it is irrefutable that cancer drugs And puberty blockers will greatly impair a developing human body, in particular, not just your bones, your brain. Your brain. It says on the box of Lupron, brain swelling. Like, are we insane? And I'm watching Michelle Obama at the DNC, who I loved. Not gonna lie to you, I loved her. And she's advocating for that. And I'm thinking, how did you get from antigay to here? There's no way you've made that quantum leap in your ideology, is there?
Well, I think what happens is...
What is happening?
Every action by one side leads to an equal or even more extreme reaction.
And we're going to go back to that. But first, I want to address what Jillian Michaels is saying. Am I pronouncing her name right? Hold on. I'm sorry. It's Jillian. What Jillian Michaels is saying. And I want to make sure that I'm reading these comments. So Ant wrote, the whole LGBTQ movement goes against Christianity. Black people were predominantly raised on Baptist Christianity. So, of course, homosexuality was not something we embraced in the past. It's just a fact. It's just a fact. I'm with you, Ed. This is like, I didn't know. But, of course, now that Barack's doing it, oh, it's cool. Barack's doing it. Shai wrote, I don't think Kamala has a choice. They are making her run. All right. So, Shai, this is how I'm going to look at it. There's nobody that can make me do anything. There's nobody that can make me do anything. You can persuade me to do certain things, but there's nobody that can make me do anything. We're all going to have certain pressures. There's certain pressure that I feel every time I talk about Israel and Palestine on here. It just is what it is. It's a certain level of pressure that I feel. I'm just being honest with y'all because I know what can come from that conversation and the things that where that can lead to, the potential of where that can lead to that may be out of my control. The things that happen based on that. Now I control how I respond to it and I still control how I speak on it. Now you can say that there's a lot of people that, hey, you're not allowed to have these conversations. You're not allowed to. No. I'm making a choice that I'm going to speak on it. There may be certain repercussions or certain things that happen as a result of it, but I'm good with that. So I'm not going to let Kamala get away with, or us even get away with saying Kamala doesn't have a choice. Everybody has a choice. You may not like the options that you're choosing from, but everybody has a choice. And as soon as we excuse and allow people to get away with, oh, well, I didn't have a choice, or this wasn't a choice, we're condoning that very behavior. So I get what you're saying. Like, hey, I think Kamala was pressured to run. And I think she's also pressured to run based on the principles and agendas that she's now running on, which is why she flip-flopped on most things. Whether it was fracking, whether it seems like she's flipping on gun control, a lot of different, the border, a lot of different things. We have a couple examples of those moving forward. But I'm not going to let her get away with saying that she was forced to run. Ant wrote, hot take, the president is elected just as a figurehead, a distraction put in place while the real power is at B, move the pieces on the chessboard. That's a fact. I mean, we know that. We know that the president is a figurehead. We know that the president is a figurehead. And to be totally honest, it's become even a position, even more of a figurehead. Now, this is why people are drawn to Trump. Trump, you could say Trump is a figurehead, maybe on a spectrum, but Trump is nowhere near. Trump is anti-establishment. That is why we got to remember, Republicans hate Trump too. That's why Democrats hate Trump. That's why Republicans hate Trump. I'm talking about the actual politicians. That is why a lot of these donors, when you look at Trump being a figurehead, and by figurehead, it's just simple. The people, BlackRock, the people that own all this stuff that donate, it's simple. Like a lot of people have said it. If you want to look at what a candidate's going to do, look at their donor base. I think Joe Biden is I think we played a video with Joe Biden saying that. Whoever gives you money, that's who's controlling you. It's not even like a mythical thing anymore. Whoever provides you money, that's who's running stuff. lot of people think that Barack Obama has been running things since he's been president. I'm sure he has great relationships with the donor base. I'm sure he's consulting for a lot of these different companies that are paying him a lot of money to keep things in order within the Democratic Party. So I understand that aspect of it. Totally understand that aspect of it. But that is why Trump is attractive, in my opinion. When you have Trump, whose donor base, look, they both have a big donor base from Big Pharma. They both have a big donor base from a lot of these big corporations. But then when you bring a guy like RFK Jr. on your team, and it's not like you brought him on your team and you said, hey, hold off. I'm gonna keep you under the wing. And then once I get elected, then I'll give you, a spot and a platform to speak on a lot of these things. And then when he actually becomes president, he may pull like a Chris Christie, like, yo, bro, you got nothing to do with this. Like, I heard that you were saying, like, you thought I was really going to put you in position. Like, you could easily see Trump doing that. But Trump is already giving RFK Jr. a platform. They are already talking about the Food and Drug Administration, Big Pharma, and how they prey on our sicknesses and our weaknesses. He's already doing that. So he's already pissing off the most powerful people in this country that are the ones that are donating money to the politicians that are controlling them. They're the puppet masters. So I get that a lot of these presidents are figureheads, but that is why Trump is so attractive to so many people, because you could say that he's still a figurehead. I guess everybody's influenced by to a certain degree, but when it's compared to the politicians that we are used to and the political parties that we are used to, it's not even close, in my opinion. And said, turn up the volume board. I got you. Is this better?
Ooh, you sound like a victim.
I got you. No, I wasn't saying that to Ant. Oh, Quee said that. My fault. Quee said that. Shout out to Queez in the building. Hold on. What did Ant say? Ant said, I was just going to say Trump figurehead or not was a Trump card. At least Trump was intentionally or unintentionally transparent. Yeah, like you hate him or love him. And yeah, hate him or love him. I don't want to dive into what I was getting ready to say too much because I'll go off on a longer tangent. Let's keep going.
From antigay to here, there's no way you
listen to what Ann is getting ready to say.
Made that quantum leap in your ideology. Is there?
Well, I think what happens is
What is happening?
every action by one side leads to an equal or even more extreme reaction. And so I think what has happened, look, I'm not necessarily on board with completely banning all of those treatments. Like, there are cases where someone who is a minor is suffering from gender dysphoria that's so extreme and they might be suicidal as a result of that, right? I think those cases are actually very rare, much rarer than the left is willing to admit.
That's what the data shows in the Cass report.
And so in that case, I love that you brought up the Cass report. They would reject the Cass report altogether.
They do.
Yeah,
and they
do.
say the WPATH files.
I know.
Which Michael Schellenberger just dumped all of that data out there,
Yeah.
which is, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I mean, I feel like
I want to go back to the thing that she said right here.
Data shows in the Cass.
very rare. They might be suicidal as a result.
Listen,
That's so
hold
extreme.
on.
Someone who is a necessarily. So I think what has happened, look, I'm not necessarily on board with completely banning or
sorry.
even more. Every action
Right here.
by one side leads to an equal or even more extreme reaction.
Every action by one side leads to an equal or more extreme reaction by the other side. That's what's happened. We've talked about that on this show. We've talked about on this show, and I've talked about it to some of y'all in personal conversations. Everything is a reaction. And when you have two groups, this is why I loved RFK Jr. running, because when you have a significant third party, it creates a checks and balance system to the other parties. Because when you only have two parties and this side gets extreme, then this side gets extreme, this guy, the people on the majority of the people that are within those parties don't realize how extreme they are getting, because they're not judging where they are based on where they actually are. They're judging where they are based on just being as far as possible from that group. They're looking at it like, no, that group has just gone significantly down the spectrum. They've gone extreme. all the way that way. They don't realize that, oh, shoot, we've been moving too. They don't realize it because they're just such fanatics of that party. And they're just so nailed down and 10 tones down in the party. They don't realize that, hey, this cart that we're standing in is actually moving. But when you have a third party that can stay in the middle, be moderate, and do things that make sense, then you realize, like, hold up, we're getting farther away from that point. It creates a checkpoint. It creates a reference point. But when you have no frame of reference, and your only frame of reference is the extreme group that you hate, you're not going to realize that you're moving. You're going to only think about it from, hey, that group's getting more extreme. But when you have that reference point, it creates a frame of reference, so you can now have a checks and balance to where you're realizing, like, oh shit, like, we're the ones that are moving as well. So I'm going to give you an example. This is something that I was speaking to a few people about. And I was actually clowning with my mom. My mom was one of the people that I was laughing with about this. And it was talking about the wall. Do y'all remember when Donald Trump first started saying that he's going to build that wall? I almost want to go back to I think I deleted some of my posts on Instagram, but a lot of them are still up there. This is from like 2000, I guess it would be 15. And this is when I was real active, real BLM-ish. It's Dak. Just want to thank you for checking out our video and visiting the OG Network. If you enjoyed the video, please make sure that you give us a like. And if you're looking to join a community of inspired individuals striving for purposeful abundance, subscribe. And if you're feeling real generous, share the video with some friends and family. All right, I'll see y'all soon. Ew.